Yeah, it was inspiring.
Yeah.
And the Allman Brothers didn't just jam with you, they actually asked you to join their band, The Hourglass, to play bass with them for a while. Is that the first time you came to Muscle Shoals with them to record at Fame, or how did you come here first?
Yeah, with The Hourglass, which, you know, Greg and Blaine, Johnny Sandlin, Paul Hornsby, and people were in, Sandlin, especially since he's from Decatur, knew about the studios here, and he liked the sounds they got, you know. I just liked the drum sound, things like that. So we stopped in, rented a little time, and recorded about 3 or 4 songs. One, the Sweet Little Angel medley, was on one of those anthology albums, I believe. It was really good, you know, for the time. It was a nice blues tune, you know.
It was awesome for the time.
Yeah, if you would like to check that out, there were 2 compilations by Duane Allman that they released after he passed, Anthology and Anthology 2, and some of those recordings were on there. And more recently, it's a box set called Sky Dog, where they used those recordings too.
Didn't they record, did they do Stormy Monday on one of those records? Or was it? It was a Spencer Davis song. What was that song? Anyway, we would hear these songs when they played in clubs in Daytona. They would play these songs.
Oh yeah.
And then they finally recorded them. So it was like it wasn't the first time we were hearing them.
Yeah.
So when Eddie Hinton kind of retired as the lead guitar player for the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, they asked you to join them. Was that like due to that session at Fame, or how did you get on the radar of those guys?
I heard they were, you know, going to need a guitar player. I was working in Macon at Capricorn, playing the studio group there, and I heard that, you know, through the grapevine. So I just came over, you know, and hung around till I worked my way in, as you say. You know, as people say, I worked, got in, and slowly but surely started doing sessions here and there, and till I was, you know, pretty much in the group.
And some of those Macon recordings are really great too, like Jerry Williams stuff, and some of those. That's really great rhythm section. Johnny Sandlin was part of that rhythm section too.
Johnny Sandlin, Paul Hornsby, Popwell, bass player, and me.
And you know, you became the lead guitar player with Muscle Shoals Sound. One of your earliest, greatest records is "If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right" by Luther Ingram, which is still one of my favorites. And like a good example, "Main Street" by Bob Seger is another one. How valuable a session player can be to not only play the perfect part, but add a signature part to a song that you can't even imagine the song minus that part.
Yeah.
And that's, you're master of that. And you probably only heard the song 5 minutes earlier and had to come up with that signature lick. That's quite remarkable.
Yeah, sometimes it came quick, you know. They'd play the song down. Let's say Seeger would play a little bit of acoustic, and we'd all kind of gather around and listen. And you know, sometimes I would just hear this melody that would go with it, be a good introduction, so I kind of made it up in my mind. And sometimes it didn't get a good one. Not like anything else, but a lot of times to come up with a good one, and might be changed during the session, you know, during the recordings, and I don't like that. You know, go back and listen and that change it a little bit. But yeah, that song, Main Street, Loving You Is Wrong. Jerry Masters back here on the black hat, he was the engineer on those. And he added to sound I had, you know, engineering and stuff. It did. I love the sound of like that Main Street really sings out, you know. And,
What guitar were you using for that? What guitar did you use on Main Street?
I think it was that one. I have a Black Music Man. I believe I used that one.
Always wondered.
Andreas, before you get away from Hourglass, Pete, do you remember a club in Sheffield called Club Tina Go-Go? It was a teen club that, advertised no adults allowed. And I believe Hourglass played there. It was only 2 blocks from my house, so I was always down there. But I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that. It could have happened.
I just
Maybe there's another version of the Hourglass too. I don't know.
not a big club.
Yeah, I don't know if there was another version of the Hourglass.
Club Tina Go-Go. Black lights.
Pete, besides playing guitar, you also got into production, and one of your early productions was the Sailcat album.
Uh-huh.
How did you get into production from playing the guitar?
I like the idea of, arranging, producing, and kind of putting stuff together, songs, and a friend of mine, Johnny Wacker, who did the Sailcat album, he was, inspiration for that. He asked me if I would produce it. I said, sure. I never had to produce anything. Well, yes, I have. Did I do your first album before that or after that?
Exactly that. Yeah, right after that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and we get to talk about that in just a minute. So at the same time, Lenny, I guess you always stayed in touch. And how did you, because I know he got you back up here, how did that reconnection happen?
Well, after our band broke up at Daytona, I don't know if you went to Macon maybe after that. If we played at the Pier, you might have went to Macon, or because it was after the Hourglass when we got together. It was in between that time.
Yeah.
And then I went to Cincinnati to play with a band, and I got really kind of tired of the style of music they were playing. It really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so Greg Allen was in town doing a show there. It was after Dwayne had died, and I went to the show and we hung out after for a while. And he said, "You should come to Macon and move to Macon, and you could play on my road band." He just did a solo record.
Yeah.
So I picked up and moved to Macon, and I was there 3 months, and he would come get me. We'd go jam at the studio or whatever. He wasn't in a hurry to put a road band together, and I needed to get something going, And so I said, well, I need to call Pete. And so I called you.
Yeah.
And Pete said, man, you should come up here. Maybe I could, you could get something going up here. And so we came up and stayed about 3 or 4 days and went back and got my stuff and brought it up. And I lived with Pete for 6 months. I owe Pete Carr a huge debt because.
Oh, thank you.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Jerry Masters was our neighbor.
Yeah, that's right.
On Ford Street.
On Ford Street.
And literally, Pete housed me and fed me for 6 months.
Oh, I like having you around.
Yeah.
I like having friends come in and stay a while.
So we stayed a long while.
Yeah, you start getting into sessions.
Yeah, eventually I got a job at the state line like everybody else. It was kind of a stepping stone with Hollis Dixon. We all played with Hollis Dixon at one time or another. And then Peanut Montgomery used me on a session at Broadway one night on a demo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I started getting demo work, and then you and I were working together writing a few songs, and kind of that's how it got started. And then we did a few demos of our songs we wrote, and Pete sent them to Jerry Wexler, and 3 weeks later I had a record deal in Atlanta, and Pete produced my first record.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of recording that album, that first Lenny solo album?
Yeah, they were more like horror stories. They were more like nightmares for me because I never really sung in the studio before, so it was a learning process for me. for sure.
Yeah, I loved it. It was good. I thought he sang great.
It was fun, but it was fun. It was fun, but it was scary for me.
We started working on it, but we started, kind of splitting off into, I wanted this way, you wanted to go another way, and I more or less started saying, I think I'd, rather actually do more, get back to producing and playing, and
so I had to go and drive the LeBlanc halfway across the country 8 times.
Yeah.
You had to sit in the studio and make records.
That's right. I know food.
Well, obviously, it turned out great for both of you individually. You continued, producing it, but also playing on so many great records down at Criteria in Miami and all over the place, really. And obviously, your career speaks for itself too. So, let me just open it up now because I know you all have all these questions. So we'll start over here, and then we'll see what else is coming up.
I was just with Terry Wickford, and he said that when y'all were cutting Fallen at Wishbone, that you had a blanket over your heads at the console. He wanted to know what that was about.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want any room interference,
When you were mixing, it was mainly when you were mixing.
Yeah. That's probably it. I come up with little wild ideas.
You didn't want to have any reflection
I'm
on
always
the back wall. It
experimenter.
was kind of a sonic thing. He wanted to have the true, sound of the speakers. I remember that.
Which is not really, because the cloth soaks up the sound and it wasn't very, I think I rinsed it off fairly quick.
Well, you don't know if you don't know if you don't try.
Hey, no kid.
You have any other questions?
So who covered Knocking on Heaven's Door first? You guys or Clapton?
I'm not sure, but
Well, I just thought it was crazy that there was reggae in both, and if you guys cut it first, did he copy that? I think you guys cut it first.
I kind of lean that way.
Yeah, I do too.
It was.
Yeah, I think we did it.
I don't know if I ever heard his version.
Yeah, I think I heard it. I heard it, but not way later.
Yeah, we did it first.
Yeah. It's a lot better either way. It's a lot better.
Well,
Wonderful night now. We did maybe that 6.
Clapton got asked to play on a session by a Jamaican artist by the name of Arthur Lewis, and he cut a version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, that reggae style, and that's how Clapton picked it up.
So he says.
So, well,
No.
it's beautiful. But anyway, I digress. So, I'm sure we have other questions. Jerry.
Pete, I've heard everything you were playing on, never hit a bad note. My 2 favorite albums that you played on was the Rod Stewart and Lenny album and the Barbra Streisand Shelby album. That was just some amazing work. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, those 2 were nice. Did a lot of Muscle Shoals. Seeger loved doing his stuff. We used to do R&B things, and I liked a lot of it. Off the top of my head, I can't.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel. Paul Simon. That obviously he was like a hero of mine when I was like, a kid. I learned stuff off that first couple.
I remember going to your house one day and you played The Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
On acoustic
And
guitar.
he did an instrumental called Angie. It was like anyway, I learned that. He's a great guitar player and writer. Wow. It was just amazing when I heard he was coming. I going, ooh. He walked in the door and I'm going like, oh, Simon.
I'm sure Will has a guitar-related question.
Well, I can say that you were really big shoes to fill. When I first moved here, Jimmy would bring me in and he'd say, I want a twin thing right here. And I'd come up with a little melody, but I might overcomplicate it. And he would just always say, man, Pete could do this so fast. You know, he was just like it.
He's like that.
And, you know, he was like that. And he kicked
I was
my-
like, can you get it sound like it? I said, yeah, there it is.
Right, so he many times wanted, I want a Price-Carr thing, and so you were pretty big shoes to fill, that's all I can say, is that, I don't know where you were living when I first moved to town, but you weren't here in town.
Right.
I think you were down in Miami maybe or something.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, and I sort of slipped, Jimmy brought me here, and,
Yeah.
I could just, you know, I mean, your name is so deep in my psyche. in my early studio days here, and I'm glad for it.
Bad dreams, you know.
Yeah, right.
Got a little PTSD, what do they call that?
PTSD.
Yeah. I've got some of that myself.
So we had Jerry Masters here before on the panel, and he mentioned how much you enjoyed recording Pete. Can you tell us a little bit about what made Pete so great in the studio?
Well, he was simply the best guitar player that ever came in that building.
Amen.
Without a doubt. Original. And I loved putting effects on him, you know, because he liked them. That was very unusual with a lot of people, that they liked what I did with their sound. But he even described what I did to him on Main Street in detail on Facebook one time, because I was using a 2-track for slapback, and I could control the speed of it by putting splicing tape on the capstan motor and control the slapback to be in unison with the tempo of the song. And Pete was the perfect, because Pete's lines left opening for me to use that effect. And besides that, I loved him, I really did.
Yeah.
He was just a great friend.
You told me one time, said, I think you're the only one, I don't know that, you know, that's true, but I mean, I think that you're the only one that can play in the studio without speaking on acoustic.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
there's
only
strings
two
up and
guitar
they just go,
players in the world that I've ever worked with that could play an acoustic and you heard no finger noise. Every note was just clear and clean, no squeaking, no finger sliding like you normally hear on acoustic guitar. It was just pure notes. And he and Reggie Young are the only two that I recorded and knew very well that could play that way, and it was very, he's a pro.
Yeah.
It's just that simple, he's a pro. And,
thank you.
This question is directed to both of you, and I want to know if there is anything that stands out from your childhood years where you recognized your own creativity and then your decision to, I'm going to make a living off of this.
Mine was when I got a guitar, and I think the Beatles that came out, during that Europe, British thing, you know, invasion, they called it. And I just started playing guitar and fell in love with it, you know. And what's funny, after I got where I could play halfway decent, Travis Womack came out with a song at that time, about 64-inch, called Scratchy. And it was a big hit. I heard that, I go, wow, because I picked up a lot of stuff off of records, you know, and I said, wow, man, I went down and bought that, you know, put it on. Listen to it, give the needle back. Then I turned it over. I turned the record over.
Why don't you just go to YouTube?
They wouldn't let me go to Yeah, I picked my parents with a lemon.
Lenny, do you have a story?
Yeah, when I was 10 years old, we went up north to visit our aunts and uncles, and I remember my aunt had a piano in her basement, an old piano, upright piano, and I remember going over to that piano, and I must have stayed down there 2 or 3 hours just picking out like little songs, and just was enthralled by it, you know. And I got home and I started asking my Mom, can I have a piano? Can I have a piano? My mom was a waitress, and my dad was a bag boy. We couldn't afford any instruments, and neither one of them were musical. And so we went to this auction one night and they had this little electric chord organ. It was about that long. It had about 25 keys, and I just knew they were going to buy it. It was $10, and they didn't buy it. And I laid in bed and cried for an organ or a piano. I know it sounds sad, but, so I really just kind of gave up hope. And then when I was 15, I came home from the beach one day with a friend, and we stopped by his house, and his little brother, some of his friends were in the living room. They had 3 electric guitars, and they were playing songs off the radio, you know. This was 1965, and they looked at my friend and I, and they said, "Why don't y'all come over here and sing? Why don't y'all sing?" And we looked at each other like, "Yeah, right." You know? So I just went over there kind of on a dare, and I just started singing the song. I think it was House of the Rising Sun or something. And they looked up at me and they said, "Wow, you sound good." I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." They said, let's put a band together and enter the talent show at school." I thought, "You think I got talent?" They said, "Yeah." So we entered the talent show. There's about 300 people in that cafeteria. And I was so scared. I hadn't been in front of anybody doing anything. I had my hands in my pockets and my back to the audience, singing to the band, and we won. We won. And they got really excited and said, "We need to put a band together. You need to get a bass." So I said, "What's a bass?" So I went to Edgar's drugstore and got a job washing dishes and saved my money and saved $150 and bought a bass.
Yeah.
I just knew that was what I wanted to do.
What was your first bass?
Fender P bass.
You got
65.
$150. That's awesome.
Brand new.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fender P bass. Brand new. Streets music.
Yeah. I got a Gibson 335 there.
Yep.
One time.
Fred Cameron.
Yeah, Fred Cameron.
You know, he went to Nashville later on and became like the microphone guru
Yeah.
there. He's
Yeah, I remember
passed
that.
away now, but
Yeah, he lived up, I guess, Hollywood.
Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah. I got a couple lessons from you. He did these songs like Moonlight, Moonlight. Kind of these jazzy things. You
Yeah,
know?
he was a neat guy.
Yeah, he was. But he was very talented in that whole area, like electronics.
Anyway.
We have maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Jerry.
Lenny, tell a little bit about your transition into contemporary gospel, and I'll brag on you and tell them that you have a dove award for nice.
Well, after Pete and I went our separate ways musically, I signed with the Muscle Shoals Sound and became one of their staff writers and was on their label. And Barry Beckett produced a record on me, and we had a couple of chart singles, but not really any big hits. And a friend of mine from Daytona, Paul Phillips, a friend of both of ours, had been to Vietnam, and I would write Paul letters every week when he was in Vietnam. And when he got home, he got into smuggling drugs. He would smuggle marijuana, and him and his partners had boats and planes and ship captains and pilots working for him, and they were big time. And so the federal authorities were after him, the IRS was after him, and he and his wife went out for a weekend, and they really decided that they needed to turn their lives over to God, that they'd messed it up, and so they became Christians. And then he sent me a Bible, called me late one night, said, "Lenny, I'm going to heaven. I got saved. I'm going to heaven. I want you to be there. Are you going to be with me? I want you to be saved. Are you saved?" I thought, "Oh, wait a minute. Too much to think about here." I didn't know what the word saved even meant, you know. And so he said, "I'm going to send you a Bible." I said, "Okay, whatever." He sent me a Bible, and I started reading the Bible at home. I never read the Bible before, and I began to ask God if he was real, and if all this stuff I'm reading really took place. And I don't know, the Holy Spirit just began to work in my heart and revealed himself to me in my house, not physically, but I just started thinking different. My heart began to change, and I just became a different person over a period of about a month. And kind of that transition happened at home. I hadn't been to a church. I'm glad I hadn't kind of went to a church, because sometimes they can mess you up. This guy says you got to believe this way, you got to do this. But my experience with God was so pure, and it was so powerful that I don't think I could have said no. And I think it was the best decision I ever made.
Amen.
My friends thought I was crazy because I had a big writing deal, had the record deal. I was right in the middle of my 2-record contract, and I walked away from that. And I couldn't record for anyone else because the record label had my contract, so held me in suspension. So nobody was going to pay big dollars for my contract. So for 2 years, I couldn't do anything. But God made a way. And all I wanted to do was write songs about what happened to me. It wasn't that you can't make pop records now. You're a Christian, you're a Christ follower. That's not right. It wasn't that at all. I think we need people in all those genres of music that are Christ followers. But for me, it just my desires changed. I really wanted to write other stuff. Even now, I just kind of write in all genres. I got a song on Willie Nelson's new record that I wrote with and along the way, I had a country hit on Sawyer Brown, and different people have recorded my songs, so it's been a great ride. Had a lot of great opportunities.
Yeah, you had really good success also with some of your gospel songs.
Yeah, well, not
really beautiful.
Not my records, but other people would record them.
On your songs.
If they had my name on it, it was kind of like a kiss of death. But if Michael W. Smith recorded it or somebody like that, it was like, go crazy.
Yeah,
it's good.
You influenced a lot of people to go to Christ. You and Ava, Will,
Jerry,
Donna Jean, all of y'all influenced me. Later on, though, how I wasn't in that wave that you were in, but later on.
Well, I think Will was probably one of the first ones, and Ronnie Eason, and maybe it was you, Jerry. I'm not sure how that succession happened, but Will was really encouraging to me, because he kind of walked before me, and so was Ronnie Eaves.
So Claudia from Ireland has another question.
Question for Pete. You mentioned the Beatles as a big initial early influence. Did you have any favorite licks from George Harrison when you started to learn? Did you get inspired in particular to any of his amazing guitar licks? Or do you remember?
Yeah. I mean, I was inspired by certain things, and some of their stuff. A lot of people really, there was a lot of things going on with guitars back then, and a lot of people would inspire me.
Thank you.
So who is your favorite guitarist?
Price-Carr.
Price-Carr. That was Ecclesia, Price-Carr.
My favorite. I'd say Blaine was a great, he was my friend, but he's also a great guitar player. And, Clapton, and there's other guys. That guy used to play, he started off with that tapping, thing. He was great. But anybody from Chet Atkins to, out to the wildest thing, it depended. I mean, I kind of soak in little things from influences all around me.
So, looking back on your individual careers, what status does that collaborative phase have? Is that still a fond memories? How does that compare to all your other career memories and highlights?
What, in the studio?
Just like those, few years that you worked extensively together here. Is that a time period where you look back fond memories, or is that something like Hey Pete, maybe we gotta do it again, Warner.
Hey, Pete! Turn around and look at you in the studio this time.
Don't forget your blanket.
No, it's great. I mean, sometimes it was rough, like anything, it's trying to pull stuff together, but I loved it.
Yeah, for me, it was just like, it was a monumentous. I mean, here I was, 25 years old, and me and Eddie Struzik write this little song, and the next thing I know, me and Peter on an American Bandstand singing it. I mean, it's like, and then we're at Norton Auditorium, and then after the TV show, I couldn't even go to the show here, locally. It'd get mobbed. It was just amazing. I mean,
Yeah. And I love the, working out the harmonies.
Oh, yeah.
And the guitar parts.
Yeah. Those were great days.
Getting the drummers, hey, give me a little nice tom-tom feel, boy.
Yeah.
That picture of y'all on American Bandstand just came up like the other day on
Yeah.
Facebook or something like that. You were so handsome young man. But I don't remember. I've seen it at one point. Did you lip sync on American Bandstand?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You could beg them to play live, they wouldn't let you.
And back then, on the the shows, that they would have different artists, and it would be a lot.
Right.
To change and bring in sound man and different instruments.
So how well do you think you did? Did you watch your mouth on the show? Did you
Great.
I don't know.
Great, I watched it. And, I watched it. You did fantastic. You had certain things you.
That's a long way from that talent show.
You were into it. You were really singing it. Before Spengler started, I was like a half second late on that intro. It was like that's okay, nobody knows. No, I did the solo. I pretty well, I was close. The backup arm, I try to look cool. I always wanted to be Paul McCartney, so it's my chance.
You have one more question?
Just a little fun fact I know on Pete, don't worry. I moved in next door to Pete back around 2000. We were neighbors for 12 or 13 years, and I didn't even know who Price-Carr was. So when my mother asked me about my neighbors, and I told her who it was, and she was like, "You don't know who that is?" I said, "No." Did my little research, went over immediately, and introduced myself. So I play a little music too. So Pete had a little sonar program. We would go in and record music on the weekends and just have a good time. But I come in one day, and there was a guitar propped up that I'd never seen. What is this? So I pull the guitar up and just immediately go into the G form. I go into G, and my fingers are all messed up, and I look down, and the strings were extremely far apart. And I was like, "What kind of guitar is this?" He said, "Man, I'm putting a guitar into the Hall of Fame, and that's the one I'm going to let them have." And I was like, "Well, what was special about this guitar?" And he said, "Well, that's the one," and I couldn't remember. It was either Rod Stewart Sailing or some Barbra Streisand or something you had played with that guitar. And I said, "Well, why does it?" And I looked down at the bridge, and you could tell it was a 12-string. What he had done was cut the other strings, the extra 6 strings out, the harmonic strings out. And he said, "Yeah, I just get tired of playing them over and over. So this will keep me from any kind of finger mess ups. I just cheated a little bit."
It gave it that light sound, like they call it, I think, a tipple. It's very light. Yeah, it did the thing with Sailing. You still don't quite see that little finger picking, and it sounds really pretty, like that. And it was one I didn't really, care about giving away, too. Yeah, there's one for you. No, I would like it. Yeah.
All right, we have one last last question over here.
In January of '78 at Norton Hall, Muscle Shoals Music Association had their annual event there. And I was scheduled to play a song that I wrote. And just before I went on, they came and said, before you go on, these guys are going on. And it was you two went out and sang Falling just before me. So that was great, and it was like, is anybody listening to me now? That's great.
So, Lenny and Pete, thank you so much for sharing all your wonderful stories today, but even more so, all your wonderful contribution to not just Muscle Shoals music, but all the music. I mean, you're like on the Mount Rushmore of American music, or you should be anyway. And I just wanted to thank you for the inspiration, and I think I speak for everyone when I say, well, let's just keep standing ovation. Thank you. Let's get up.